Hi, everybody. Welcome to Chit and Chat with Coach Rose AJ and Coach L Kelly. That's me. We're going to be talking about some cool things today as we get into the holidays, how to eat and some good habits that we can impart upon you. We do want to say that we are not medical professionals. We're just two health coaches sharing our own knowledge. So any health issues or anything that you have, please take that to your medical doctor. I just want to disclose that. So how are you doing today, Coach Rose AJ?
I'm doing awesome. And I have to say that you did that disclaimer professionally, straight through. I love it. I love it. I love it. Life is good. And you're right. Today's episode is like the pre-holiday episode. It's airing the week before Thanksgiving, and life is good my way. What about you? What's going on in your neck of the woods?
Life is good. Just coming back from some travels, and now I'm ready for the holiday. And I know one of the things that we're going to talk about during this holiday is how we incorporate intermittent fasting in that. And I think that that's an important discussion because I think there can be some anxiety around how you handle the holidays when you've been on a weight loss journey or a health journey and you just have all this abundance of food. It's kind of like some people may feel like, how do I get through this holiday? So that's what we're going to be talking about, what we plan on doing and maybe some pointers there.
Okay. So, well, to kick it off, I'm just going to say that I've been doing as a refresher since December 2nd, 2018. So I just started in the midst of the holiday season. And if you guys remember, it was just a shit show, phenomenal shit show for like the first 2 years. Okay. But Coach L. Kelly, can you remind us how long you've been intermittent fasting and if this is your first holiday season or second holiday season?
Right.
That you're intermittent fasting.
Yeah, I've been intermittent fasting, I think off and on for a couple of years, but this has been the first year that I've been on. This has been very intentional in my efforts. So this is my first holiday season. So I'm going to be journeying on this to actually still intermittent fasting during the season and not come out of that. I'm still going to adhere to it with some simple things that I'm going to put in place. What about yourself?
Well, I'm just going to be the old matter that I am. But before we get to me, I'm curious. You just mentioned that you came from vacation. How did you practice intermittent fasting while you were on vacation, or if you did, or did you press the pause button and then just resume when you got home?
I did press the pause button a little bit, but because we are on the West Coast, and so my vacation was on the East Coast. And so it was interesting to try to adjust the hours because my body was still technically operating like we were West Coast. So I guess in a sense, maybe I did still intermittent fast, but it just didn't feel, it just felt kind of off. I was just happy to get back home so I could get back to the hours that we know. But I still tried to adhere to it a little bit, but I just adjusted it for the East Coast time. So sometimes you have to deal with that when you're traveling.
Right. So do you think you set up your time frames according to the East Coast time, or did you make a little bit more wiggle room for allowances and not worry about the structure of your eating window so much?
That's a good question. I made room for a little wiggle room because if you think about it, we're 3 hours behind on the West Coast. So I just, technically, our 4:30 is different from a 4:30 there. So, which is usually the time that I stop. So I did make a little wiggle room, but at the same time, it was okay because I was eating later, right? Like I was trying to adjust my sleeping schedule too. So it worked out. It's just that I was like, I cannot have my last meal 1:30 East Coast time. That's just not going to work.
Okay. That's right. And that's the beauty of intermittent fasting. You're not stuck or enslaved to a particular eating window and whatnot. It's flexible. You don't have to mold your life around it. You make it fit into what your needs are, whether you're traveling, whether you're in a holiday window, whatever it is, you make it work for you and your specific needs.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you, going into this holiday season, did you experience any fun times with Halloween? Meaning, did you, pass out candy, or did you consume any candy or anything like that? Because that's really the start of the
Right.
season, right? For
It
most of
really
us.
is. It really is. It's all impacted together. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. But you know what? Halloween, since my daughter is older, she's a
Mm-hmm.
college graduate, I'm not so much into that holiday, thank goodness.
Okay.
So my
Okay.
my big things are Thanksgiving and
Okay.
Christmas because I am the cook in the family and I cook traditionally.
Ooh.
So but yeah, Halloween, no problem there at all. Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't even give out candy.
Perfect.
No.
I never do either. And I know we discussed this a couple of episodes back, but I never do either. But the funniest thing is that the administrators at the campus that I was working at, they were dressed up and passing out candy and stuff like that. And I told the
Mhm.
principal, he was like, and I go, no, I'm allergic. I'm totally allergic. So guys, a stunned look because this is our first year on this particular campus. He
Right.
wasn't used to me, right? But truly, I am allergic to sugar, so I can't even take that first bite.
Right.
And I saw people going back and back. And during our meeting for that day, people kept going back. And I just said, ooh, wee, that used to be me.
Right.
Right? That used to be me. And it would just snowball until
Oh,
January
it's
15th.
a rabbit hole. It's a rabbit
Yeah.
hole. But I
Yeah.
like your response,
Yeah.
Coach Rose AJ. I like your
Yeah.
response when you say allergic to sugar because if you've ever had someone who's really excited about having you try something, it's like, no, just try a little. No, it won't hurt you. Just try a little bit. But when you say, I'm allergic to sugar, who's really going to argue with you about that? I love
Gonna
that
be
response.
stumped. Like, what ingredient is she allergic to?
Right.
I'm allergic to it all because I'm not
Right.
trying to roll anywhere, right?
Right.
So I'm curious, Coach L. Kelly, as we start entering the holiday season, you mentioned that you're the cook, you cook traditionally. What are some things that you're going to have in place as safeguards or things that you want to anticipate being able to support yourself with intermittent fasting during the holidays? What are some protocols that you think you're going to have in place?
That's a good question. And I also want to preface this to say, although this goes without saying, this is just for me, because I think it's really coming around the holidays, that anxiety that I mentioned that people can have can also trigger people at this time. So I want to say this is something that I put in place. I think that we all have to figure out what works best for us. So I want to highlight that. For me, I'm going to enjoy a meal because I am the cook.
Okay.
So, but one of the things, some of the safeguards I'm going to put in place is number one, I'm still going to intermittent fast. That may not sound like a big deal, but when you get into the holidays and you're relaxing and watching TV and staying up late, the old me would just be eating throughout the night. That's just what you do. That's just a part of the holiday. This time I'm actually still going to be intermittent fasting and putting that time stamp in place. This way it'll help me, we know the good things that intermittent fasting helps us to do with digestion of our food. And also, I don't want to have any indigestion or any of those problems that you could have from eating late at night. And I don't want to open the door to that rabbit hole that you were talking about with the Halloween and just eating. Another thing I'm going to do is still portion control. So with the kind of lovely things that, I'm going to have, the mac and cheese or dressing and all of that stuff, I'm going to do 1 cup. I know that sounds like crazy because usually for me it would be this big plate, but my last year is different now. It's different the way I don't even have a desire to do that, but I still want to taste the food that I laid hands on. So I'm still going to be measuring out that food as well. 1 cup of mac and cheese, 1 cup of dressing. Honestly, it's so easy to overeat during the holidays that you don't even realize how much you're piling on your plate.
Yes.
So my goal is to still feel good, and to still enjoy the food.
Yeah.
But I think also part of a lot of what we do comes from habits. Like it's the holiday. It's a habit that we're going to sit around and just eat all day and, stuff our faces. And that's fine. That's what you want to do. But I think just looking at it differently, I think we come together as family during this time, and that's what's important. So just framing our minds around that, like we don't have to put so much, you don't have to have any fear or anxiety, like what am I gonna eat? What is, how am I gonna react with all of this food? I think we kind of focus on the fact that this is about family and spending time, and that's the fun stuff. The food happens to be an extra addition and a part of it. So just changing that mind frame, I think will help people feel a little better around the holiday and setting up your own parameters. That's what I'm doing.
Yes.
There is no, I don't even like the word I cheated. I don't like that cheat, because I think coming into the holidays, just be intentional about what you want to do. I'm going to be intentional that I'm going to have a cup of macaroni and cheese and whatever that is, right?
Right.
But just being intentional makes you not have that guilt, because it becomes a mental thing too. And we don't want any of that. We want to have fun. You want to be in the moment. You don't want to be worried about this food. So I say, set the parameter for yourself, which is what I'm doing.
Go ahead. Hey, I love it. I love it. I love it. And what's really exciting is that you're thinking about it beforehand. You're not waiting until you are doing the food prep, because I know sometimes, depending on the dish, you can be cooking like 3, 4, 5 days in advance of the actual meal. So you're thinking about this. And this is what I have to say, that I truly admire you for already knowing the amount that you're going to choose to eat, right?
Right.
And so what I've learned my first, second, third, fourth season in is that it takes a lot of evolutions, right? A lot of evolutions before you level out. And 2020, the season of 2020, I finally got it that I am not a moderator. Right. That was my first year of saying, I'm still OMAD. For the holiday season, I'll have 3 ribeyes versus, things that trigger me, that I love, like the mashed potatoes, the greens, all that stuff.
Right.
Yes, I am an African-American sister. And yes, I grew up with ham hocks, the whole 9, the skins and everything. I love it all. But the reality is that once I take a bite, I start bargaining with myself, right? So it was 2020 when I finally honed in and just stayed OMAD, a couple of steaks, whatever I wanted during my eating window, right? So that still holds true to today. I just walk away from it because I know where it's going to end up. Absolutely. And so I typically still keep my 1 meal a day. The only exception to that would be like if my granddaughters wanted me to hang out with them and I made them some bacon, eggs, and avocado.
Right.
But we just try to keep it centered around one time frame during the holidays. And I don't want to be the kind of person that says to myself, I told you so, you'd go down that road. So I just keep it as clean as possible. And my exceptions would probably be like if I wanted some salad or something, like the packaged salad, which I rarely ever do, and avocados. So I'm pretty boring, but I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
But but I think that boring is good. And I think that so I'm not sure if you're having your family at home or if you're going to someone's home, but that boring is good because you can prepare that boring, we say boring, but let's say the healthy version of the food. And if you're going to someone's house, you could take something like that. So it becomes about you being with your daughter, your grandkids, your husband, and not just the food. I love it.
Yeah. Honestly, okay, so boring to me is just the traditional ground beef. It works for me. It lights up my brain, right? This kind of stuff people might say is boring. So what my really light up food, junk foods is plain Greek yogurt. I know, the FAGE brand. So yogurt would be a treat for me. The pork rinds and cheese, those are my like junk foods now. If I ever want to just go there, that's what I'm going there with. So
I love it.
The excitement foods.
Is that quite different from, that must be quite different from how it was before then? Because when I think about the cheese or, that type of thing, I'm not thinking junk, but that's probably very different from what junk was for you before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm like, if I got to take a pack of cheese or some shredded cheese and throw it in with some eggs and I'm good. Yeah.
So do you, Coach Rose, have, now that you have your OMAD life down and you absolutely know how you're going to move, are you uncomfortable, or was there a time when you were uncomfortable during the holidays, and how did you work through that? How did you get to this point where you're like, okay, it doesn't bother me at all. This is what it is.
So 2018, 19, I had lots of experiences where I said, I'm going to take a day off. Like you said, cheat days really should not be in our lingo because it signifies something else. We cheat on our spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, but not food, right? Because we're in a relationship with food. But ask me the question again. I just went left and then my dog came in.
No, I'm just wondering because you're very definitive about this is how I approach it, and I don't deviate from that just for the holiday. Did you have a point, that it wasn't this easy? How did you handle that? How did you get to this point where it's not a struggle for you and you approach it the same each year?
So 2018, 19, those were my learning years. It took a lot for me to learn what worked for me, that I can't be like everybody else. Everybody else at the party is drinking. Well, I'm a drinker that doesn't black out, but I like to drink, right? So I had to drop that behavior in 2018 because it wasn't serving me. So it was just how I felt after consuming foods all day that didn't agree with me, going through the hangover, the sugar withdrawal, being constipated, having to take, things to help me remove it from my system. So it's just a learning curve. I'm not 16 anymore. And do I really want to give up my quality of life right now just for a few days of pleasure? So I had to have those hard conversations with myself and just say it wasn't worth it.
Well, look at you now. Yeah. Look at you now.
Thank you. But what I'm also so excited for you is to experience it and to really say, what went really, really well. How did you feel? Did you feel like you were being deprived? Did you set the role, were you an example for others in your family or whoever you were, serving or, celebrating with? Did you have the opportunity to talk to them about intermittent fasting? That kind of stuff. So I'm really excited to hear back from you after Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. Like, did you stick to what you wanted to go into the season with? Mm-hmm. Or, did you deviate from that? And, how did you feel? So this is awesome.
I will be honest with you now. Mm-hmm. Now, I think that my lifestyle has been reflective, or I think that it has, my family does see the changes that I've made. And, I'm a pescatarian. My husband is carnivore. My daughter is, when she comes home, she's vegetarian / pescatarian if she eats a little tuna here. So we all have, so I'm taking all that in consideration during the holiday, right? Yeah. So I don't think anyone's going to learn anything from me during the holiday because they're going to do what they want to do. But I will say overall, living this lifestyle has even my college daughter's attention. We've been talking about it, and she wanted to, especially because she's getting Invisalign. She was thinking it would just be easier to adhere to. That's how I was like, hey, if you do the intermittent fasting, you could have your window and not worry about putting it off and on. Yeah. But overall, I'm excited too, and I will report back because I think that when you change your relationship with food to be more of a positive one, and you feel that you have that control, I think that it becomes an easier experience, and that's what I'm feeling. But but sometimes it's one thing to say that, and it's one thing to go through the challenge, right? Yeah. So that challenge is the holiday. So we will both be reporting back. I think you'll be fine, but we'll both be reporting back.
Yeah, it'll be business as usual for me, business as usual. Right. The only extra might be that I might have a 6 or 8 shot Americano from Starbucks. And I might put a little bit of sugar-free, like hazel or vanilla. Is it the vanilla flavoring in there? But that might be the only extreme. Okay. And even those sugar-free sweeteners give me headaches, so it probably won't be.
Oh, I love the way you live on the edge.
Yeah. Okay, one more real quick note, because I know we got to close out, girl, but one real quick note. A few years ago, when I went through this weight loss journey and I was trying to get my ish together, and I was still eating bread. I was still eating Subway. Subway used to be my jam. And my daughter would be like, well, let's just go out to eat. I go, okay, I'm going to have a Subway and a half. And she goes, you are living on the edge.
I love it. Isn't it funny what we consider living on the edge on this side of life? Like, ooh.
Girl, I just can't deal with the hurt stomach, and I just can't do it no more. And the highs and lows, the blood sugar, thinking I'm going crazy. I'm like, okay, God, I submit. I submit. I understand now.
We need to do a segment and just talking about that, because that, just alleviating so many of that has been a big reason why I am with intermittent fasting. This is a part of my, just those things. That'll be part, another part, just to talk about some of those things that we got rid of.
So maybe we can go ahead and do that next week then, because that would be the day before Thanksgiving. Then maybe we could
Let's
do that
do it.
episode then. All
Let's
right.
do it.
All right. Do you have any words that you'd like to close out with, Coach L. Kelly?
No, just thanks for joining us. And
Yes.
we will touch base next week, or we're going to check in, or we're checking in before Thanksgiving, right before.
Yeah. So these podcasts are released every Wednesday, but this one is going to be the one before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, everyone stay well, and we'll see you
Yes.
next time.
Yes. Everybody have a happy and blessed Thanksgiving, and let us know how you are enjoying your holiday season and what are you doing to keep on track. All right, guys, take care, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.